Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. Having been on heavy painkillers for as long as I was, one of the things that really suffered was my role-playing gaming. I got back to it as soon as I could, worked my way in as a player, playing the new Lord of the Rings game. Mike Shields was running that in Manhattan Beach. And when that campaign came to an end, I was feeling almost better enough. I'd started to dip my fingers into map making, and I was working on some of my fantasy setting. And everyone was saying that they really wanted to try 5th Ed Dungeons & Dragons. And so I'm thinking, I'll give it a try. I like 5th edition. I've reviewed it. I studied it. Worked with it a little bit, run it at conventions. I could probably handle a campaign. So I started a campaign with the goal of taking the characters from 1st level to 20th, and then take it epic. I will need to talk a little bit about the group that I'm running this for, because the particular Dungeons & Dragons story that I'm going to tell today is heavily reliant on the people involved. In alphabetical order, we have Brian, who is playing an elven archer, half-elven archer, half-elven archer, ranger. Favored enemy, outsiders, aberrants, or aberrations. We have Dave, who's playing a fighter, a custom racial template. What are they called? It's sort of a half-giant template. Very acrobatic, very tall but still medium-sized creatures. Finn, who is playing a warlock with an aberration outsider focus. Mike, barbarian. Ross, paladin of Tyr. And Vic, who is playing a custom warlock sorceress hybrid, who is linked to Mike's barbarian as a living human familiar of sorts. Worked out some custom material. It's pretty interesting and works out very well. At 1st level, the characters met each other at 1st level and started adventuring in a continent called Glib. I created this with my working on my map making. It's something I made for the Shattered Earth setting, but I adapted it to 5th edition. It might show up in both. I'm certainly going to publish material on Glib for the Shattered Earth, but I might also publish it as a supplement for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. If, there's an interest in it. If there's an interest in it, and leave me a comment, let me know. Every member of the party has good somewhere in their alignment. Neutral good, lawful good, obviously paladin, and some chaotic goods. All of them are playing good characters. Now, that means something. Alignment is de-emphasized in 5th edition. Creatures have alignment tendencies, not concrete alignments. It gives you a lot of wiggle room as far as storytelling, but it takes away a lot of the requirements that alignment forced onto characters and monsters and settings and what have you. Still, all of the player characters are good characters. The paladin started, his background is noble, so he started off kind of spoiled. At 1st level, he's 26th in line of ascension to the duchy, and started off a little spoiled. He had some extra starting cash, and he spent it on nice things, but fairly frivolous. a tent that's much, much too big for him. He's got this huge palanquin that, the whole party can sleep in, stuff like that. It's cool stuff. And it was very good character pieces, because from first to fourth level, the character grew as they had to go and rescue this town that had been forgotten by the rest of the continent and ignored, while the forces of the continent to the south, Echelon, worked their dire plan to try and conquer Glib through the town of Garde. They saved Garde. They rescued it. They caused it to be remembered by the rest of the continent, and took them about 4 levels to do, but they managed it, and it worked out very well. And the paladin became the de facto baron of the town. The continent's small enough that the towns have barons as opposed to mayors, and has displayed the capacity for care and concern that his initial outing didn't really indicate. He grew. More, all of the Paladin's advancement choices have gone towards things that allow him to defend the party. He has passed up opportunities to do more damage, to get more personal ability, to get more personal defense, for the ability to interpose himself between the rest of the party and injury. All of the party have grown tremendously from first to fourth level. They have become very deep, very interesting characters, very well thought out characters. In the pursuit of their rescue of Garde, they found a weapon of mass destruction. They found a magical chest. It's not locked, really. There's no traps. There's just a genie in it. And it seemed dangerous. It felt dangerous. There's something wrong with it. The warlock with the outsider focus, with the aberration focus, an escaped warlock from Echelon, where there's a lot of aberration influence. The outer gods rule there. Was able to tell that there's something desperately wrong with the genie inside that chest. If they open it, horrible things will happen. There's a throwaway weapon of mass destruction. Was coming up with some of this off the top of my head. I do a lot of improvisational game mastering. So what's the worst possible thing that could be in that chest? Well, what's going to sound terrible? A genie. A genie that for some reason is a terrible danger if you open it. And genies are theoretically weapons of mass destruction on their own, if the wrong person's making the wishes. They get back to the capital of the south of Glib, Two Falls, and talk to the Duchess, who the Paladin's related to, and they've got a big mission coming up. They've got to go deal with an orcish horde to the south. There's a treaty with the orcs. They can deal with them, but the treaty hasn't been getting paid off because the shipments have been getting hijacked, and, well, they've got to go take care of that. It's big, it's huge, it's going to be terribly dangerous because it's an orcish horde. But then the barbarian starts being concerned. Not that they have this genie. They've put the genie in a safe deposit box. The box is there, more or less safe. Safest bank in all of Two Falls, perhaps all of Glib. But concerned for the genie. There's a genie in there. It's trapped. It's probably not there by its own will. Genies get captured in things. It gnawed at the barbarian, and the more the barbarian talked about it with the rest of the party, the more it seemed like something that had to be dealt with soon, at least looked into. So they acquired a magic scroll from the Duchess that would allow them to speak with the genie without releasing it. The genie could not give them answers. The genies, they can't really speak all that directly, but it hinted at what the problems were. They discovered what wishes had been made to make the genie a weapon of mass destruction. Take on the infernal template. Take on the abyssal template. No, the infernal, the aberrant template, and when this chest is opened, make the area for as far as you can influence ideal for your own nature. So any place that chest is opened is going to become Lovecraftian hell. It's a spoiler weapon. It's one you leave behind. You're not going to be able to take that land. You salt the earth, and this is salting the earth in a huge way. The genie also informed them, through innuendo and hints, that by its own power it could not correct its situation. The party ruminated on this for a while. It'll keep. They don't need to open the chest. It's not a desperate thing. They're okay. They've got a time. But it bothered them. Especially those chaotic good characters who played their alignments wonderfully. There's something trapped. Not by its own will. That's unacceptable. If only we could do something about this. Well, Tyr is the god of justice. Paladin went to the temple because this seemed unjust. And not only was it dangerous for the whole continent, effectively, but it was unjust. This creature imprisoned, not by its own will, not for anything it had done other than its nature, forced to take on natures that were not its own, forced to be a danger to others that probably didn't want to endanger. Not right. What do? Well, it'd take a genie to fix something like that, and that genie couldn't do it. Rules are made on knowledge skills. And our sorceress, Vic knows a lot about this stuff, brought his A game. Well, aren't there different tiers of genie? We can find out what tier this genie is, and they discover it's a low-tier genie. It's still phenomenally powerful, but there are other genies that have more influence, particularly over this one. Oh, this is a ring genie. We need to find a lamp genie, or higher. Okay. The party knows that there's a path towards fixing this now. And they determined for themselves that they want, that okay, we know this can get done at some point. We're going to have to go quest for a genie. We're going to have to go find a way to get ourselves to the elemental plane of air so we can talk to the genies and see if any of them will fix this. And I don't like to do it, but we'll set this aside and go do the job that we need to do. And as the game master, I'm not just content that they've dug into it this much. I'm curious. I'm curious as to how far these characters will go to solve the problem of this genie, who is, admittedly not by his own fault, but at the moment kind of a douche. You know, he's infernal. He's an outsider. He's not nice people. He could be if those natures were removed from him, but that's what he is right now. He's a weapon to be used against them and their people, and how far will you go? I invented something that is going to bite me in the ass later. I know, as a game master, this is going to bite me in the ass later. The Hierophant of the Temple of Tyr says, well, we have a Tyr's Gate. Well, what's a Tyr's Gate? Well, it's a blessed artifact. It's a gateway. If you have a cause that is just, if you are pursuing the cause of justice, Tyr's Gate will send you to where you need to go to pursue your current course of justice, and will not let you return through it until that cause of justice is served. I can see 10 or 100 different ways that the party can use this in the future of the campaign. But I don't mind that so much as a game master. If you've got these little MacGuffins that you throw off, or plot devices, and someone comes up with a way to take that and turn it around and change your adventure, not turn it off necessarily, but bypass some stuff, that's actually kind of awesome. I like to see that kind of thought. I like to see that conceptual MacGyvering go on. And that lets me, sure, they bypass this, but that lets them get to a much bigger fight much faster, and I can escalate things, and that's their own fault for bypassing the little stuff. That's fine. Perfectly fine. So, this is a one-way trip if they can't get this problem solved. They've got to fix the problem that they are pursuing for Tyr's Gate to let them back. This is a one-way trip to the elemental plane of air. That right there is and should be terrifying. You don't know what you're going to find when you get there. You don't know if the genies are going to help. You don't know if you'll be able to find a genie. You don't know. These are 4th level characters. This is a junior high student trapped in a space shuttle going into space, and you don't know how you're getting back. And they went, okay, let's go solve this. Let's go deal with this. Let's go help this genie. Okay. They want to help the genie. How bad do they want to help the genie? They just thrown themselves in the elemental plane of air. As a game master, one of my joys is seeing how far these characters will go. How far they will pursue their own means and ends. What are they willing to do, and what are they willing to sacrifice? Some of that's my personal feelings about characters and heroes in particular. But heroes are often defined by their level of sacrifice, or at least what they're willing to sacrifice. They show up in the elemental plane of air. They can move normally. Tyr's Gate is taking care of that. They can move at their normal movement rate without falling. There's no ground, but they're okay. There is an air spirit playing a flute not too far from them, a Zephyr, as it turns out. They informed the Zephyr what they're there for, and the Zephyr is amazed. Well, wouldn't you be? Hi, we have zero relationship to this genie who has been wished into something that will absolutely destroy us. Is there a way for us to free it from its obligations? No one wants to free a genie from their obligations. Genies are beings that, from time immemorial, for as long as magic has existed, have been forced into obligation. You don't summon a genie because you want to say hi. You summon a genie because you want the wishes. Wishes are powerful. Wishes are expensive. Wishes are phenomenally potent things. Wishes can get you kingdoms or destroy them. We have come here because this genie has been obligated to do things we do not believe are in the genie's best interest. Is there someone we can talk to about helping this genie? The Zephyr is amazed. It goes and talks to some genies. Genies come back. Big genies. Lamp genies. High-tier genies. Incredibly powerful genies. They tower 40 or 50 stories. Just huge tails of tornadoes with humanoid tops, various shades of blue, looking down on these curious beings. Humans, mostly. Human mixes, and giant, and part elf, and curious that they don't have a demand. They have a request. One of them, large Genie, shrinks itself down to more relatable size and finds out what the problem is. Finds out what they want the genies to do. And the genies start talking about how difficult this is. You know, it's a wish. It's been made. It has that potency. They can do something about it, but it's not going to be easy. And it's going to require things the genies can't provide. And Vic says something. Vic's character says something. It's important that it's Vic's character who says this. Shrugs a little bit and is obviously disappointed. Says, I just wish we could help. Used the word. Used the word. I wish we could help. The genies are not obligated to grant this wish in any way, shape, or form. They haven't been bound. They haven't been summoned. They haven't been in any way. But they used the word. And it wasn't, I wish for cash. I wish for a kingdom. I wish for a castle. I wish this girl loved me. I wish this guy loved me. I wish whatever. I wish we could help. It was a wish that obligated the player characters to do something for the genies. If you're a member of a race whose existence has been obligation to those on the prime material plane, that's fascinating. That's almost endearing. As a game master, wondering how far these characters will go, that's my in. That's my, okay, you wish you could help? Here's what we can do. We cannot make the two natures that this genie has been forced to take on go away. We cannot eliminate them. A nature can neither be created nor destroyed, but we can transfer it to another being. We cannot transfer it to another genie. The party, they all just look at each other for a couple of seconds. They're all good. They're all good. And the natures that are going to have to be taken on to free the genie from those natures are not good things. Infernal is bad enough, enemy of all that is good. But abyssal, aberration, outsider, enemy of everything that is of nature and the prime material plane and that properly exists within the universe that you're aware of. To suddenly become the enemy of everything. It was a terrible thing. It was a terrible thing to ask of anyone. And it was for a genie that, you know, they didn't know this guy. This was some douche in a box who was there to destroy them. Had been summoned and coerced to take on these natures, yes, but in order to destroy them. It was a weapon. It becomes clear that the party's thinking about it. And someone's going to do it. Someone's going to do it. As soon as it became clear that someone in that party was going to take on those natures, the paladin of Tyr kneels, begs his god for forgiveness, and says, "Give them both to me." The very first thing he did, the thing he did right there, was try to take 2 hits for the team. Technically, as of that moment, he was no longer a paladin. He had forsaken his oaths. No matter what happened from that point on, he was done. He'd given up all of his power and all of his prestige and all of his standing. Still had the noble birth, but 26 in line to the duchy. It's not that great, a noble birth. And he threw it all away in a moment so that his friends would not have to take on these natures. That's powerful. That's a statement. That's the player. Ross playing the paladin. That's such a Ross thing to do. That was such a... No, I'll take it. Go ahead. It's hard for me not to tear up a little bit thinking about this. These characters are an investment. We put time into them. We care about them. You know, 1 or 2 players might have that, well, if this goes badly, I can always roll up another one. But, nah, these are people who are playing characters that they intend to keep playing, who have put time and effort into their creation and into the playing of them, who've custom written material to back them up. This is not a small thing. The rest of the party goes off on him. And thank you for taking that, but no one elected you, the guardian of all of our souls. We have choices to make, and we're perfectly willing to do this. I throw a caveat in. I throw a DM fiat feat. Tyr, the paladin's god, pokes the paladin in the back of the head and says, no. You are my paladin. I have need of you. You cannot take this on. Your sacrifice is noted, but do not cast away your oaths. This is your warning. Paladin's out. As much as it honored the character, honored the game, and honored the situation I put them in, I want to see how everyone else would handle it. And I didn't want the paladin to stop being a thing. The paladin to become important to the campaign. Everyone's important to the campaign, but, I wanted to see how this got handled. Brian is not there for this session. Neither is Finn, playing the Warlock. So the Ranger and the Warlock off to the side, out of consideration. It is the Fighter, Barbarian, and Sorceress. Well, if any of them took on both templates, it would be too much. That was pretty apparent. There's nothing I can do about that. So they had to split it up. The problem is this relationship between the Sorceress and the Barbarian. The Barbarian is magically linked. They're soulmates. They are wizard and familiar. They are sympathetically linked. If one of them takes on a nature, they both take on the nature. The players are in agreement. The characters would agree to do this. The next 20 minutes of game time, the next 20 minutes are these characters trying to determine which template which character should take on. Sorceress is back, tells the Barbarian, whatever choice you make, I will be bound by. Make the choice. The Barbarian and the Fighter, Mike and Dave, have an intensely interesting conversation about which one of them would be more efficient as an infernal version of themselves or as an aberration of themselves. They try to determine what will affect them and make them least more efficient. Because they're going to be nightmares. Either of these characters is going to be a full-on nightmare when this happens. This conversation is happening out loud on the elemental plane of air. The genies are watching. Now, the genies are already impressed with these individuals because they've come here to do this. They are now willingly and strategically sacrificing themselves and everything that they stand for to help this genie that they don't know. The party hasn't realized it just yet, but they have impressed and endeared themselves to these extremely powerful genies who are watching and observing. Not so much out of a dispassionate sense of perspective, but because they cannot believe what is happening. This isn't the order of things. Mortals don't do this for genies. And yet here they are. Over the course of this conversation, the fighter announces, well, I'm going to take on this nature, but I intend to fight it. The good me that I am now intends fully to fight this new nature that I'm going to take on. To which the barbarian replies, oh, of course, yes. I'm taking this nature on, but I'm going to fight it. I'm going to try and overcome it. I'm going to try and defeat this nature. You say that in front of genies who are impressed with you, and who might not want you to turn evil all of a sudden. And that's a powerful thing. You say this in front of a game master who wants to see how far you'll go, and is about to see 3 characters, flip over. Vic's already doing the calculations on what his character is going to look like with either of those templates on it. They make their decisions. Fighter's going to go infernal. Barbarian's going to go abyssal. Aberration. The genies say, okay, we'll do that. But because you have informed us that you intend to fight these natures, we're going to give you the best chance we can to do that. So, at that moment, with an enactment of the genie's will, there are now 2 versions of the fighter, the barbarian, and the sorceress, one without the template and one with. The genies say, whichever one of you wins is the one that leaves this plane. I now have the easiest combat that I have ever had to run as a game master because I'm not rolling any dice. The player characters ran their own combat. The players had the combat. At which point, Finn shows up and asks what he missed. That was a good recap. That was an awesome recap. I just sat back and chuckled while everyone else talked. I may have been looking for ways to save a little energy on these games. So, the bad news. They must now... The good versions of the characters must fight the evil versions of the characters. I love a good mirror match. Oh, that's high drama and excitement, and there's no opponent I can throw at a player character more dangerous than a player character. So the players are now running their good version and their evil version in a combat. The genies did not exclude anyone from this combat, so the paladin and the warlock are in it too. And that made all the difference. I didn't want the evil versions to win. I wanted the characters as they were to return from this grown, enhanced, not necessarily turned evil. That alters a campaign in ways I don't even really want to think about at the moment. Not that I don't think they could have worked with it, or that I could have worked with it, but it's not really how I wanted it to fly. So yeah, all the characters could get involved in this fight. And the paladin fixed it straight up. Used his command ability. Told the, and just in general, drop your weapons. Good barbarian saved, evil barbarian didn't. Made the difference. That action right there, that sequence, made the difference. Evil barbarian had to take a turn to pick her weapon back up. Great sword. Good barbarian didn't. Good barbarian went ape crap all over the evil barbarian and ended her in a turn. If the evil barbarian who won initiative had been able to attack that round without regaining her weapon, the amount of damage that was done was phenomenal. The combat lasted about 3 turns. Warlock and the Paladin turned the tide. All 3 evil versions of the characters defeated. I applauded. We all did. Sometimes things go so well in a game. Things happen that are so correct, that feel right. Like, if you went to a movie and that happened, you'd be fist pumping and yelling in the theater. That's what I game for. That's why I do this. That's why it's my hobby. That's why it's my career. For those moments. For those moments where you stop and you clap and in 10 years we're going to be telling this story. Because you did it right. Two of the wishes undone, the genie is released from the box. The third wish, turn the place where the box is opened into something that suits your nature. The genie pops out in the elemental plane of air and says, done. Problem diffused. Situation taken care of. It was an hour or so side venture. Wasn't a planned part of the adventure. It was, something the characters did because they thought it needed to be doing. It was a player-directed sidetrack, which are all fine. And they had a very dangerous thing. And if the bad guys got a hold of the very dangerous thing, it'd be terrible for everyone. So we need to make the very dangerous thing not be a very dangerous thing. On one level. On another level, there's someone here who's disadvantaged. Someone who doesn't deserve to be disadvantaged and someone that we feel bad for. We need to do something about their disadvantage. We need to see if we can't fix this person's situation. Genie's released. Problem solved. Tears Gate opens. Characters say, okay, glad we could help. We'll bye. As a game master, I sit back because there's a certain amount of reward that I am responsible for giving people for successful actions, or for defeating villains in a combat, or for good role playing. And something amazing just happened. They had just indebted this group of incredibly powerful genies to them. through incredibly selfless, self-sacrificing action, willing to take on these natures, willing to fight against them, those natures in themselves, or fight themselves with those natures, willing to throw away their oaths to gods to help this genie that they didn't know, that they had no reason to help other than it was the right thing to do. And if there's anything I like to reward as a game master, I like to reward doing the right thing simply because it is the right thing to do. The party made one wish on the elemental plane of air in the presence of all these genies. I wish we could help. That was it. That was the wish they made. They asked for no reward. They asked for no benefit. There was no, well, we've done this. Can we get a... No. None of that. How do you reward that? Because that is the definition of selflessness. All of the characters involved, every last one, acted in a purely selfless manner. They had, at that moment, yeah, there were things that they overcome before, and they'd beaten up a lot of bad guys, and they'd tracked down a lot of conspiracies, and saved a whole city from being forgotten by the rest of the continent. They'd done heroic things. Every player character does heroic things. Well, most of them. I've played a coward or two in my time, but most player characters just do heroic things. That's generally the job of the game master, is to put opportunities for heroism in front of people and run through how they do heroics. But at that moment, all of these player characters had become heroes. Not just heroes by definition if you're a player character with G in your alignment, not heroes by, oh, that's what you call people who engage in this during this role-playing game. No. These were heroes by the laws of literature itself. The genie that they released renamed itself, so it couldn't be summoned again by the people who summoned it before. But it named itself out loud in front of the player characters. All of the PCs know the name of a genie who owes them. Not because they obligated the genie by anything other than a selfless action, but because the genie's not really a douche. Released from its evil natures, this genie has a sense of obligation to these player characters and has given them its name. With the right magics, you can summon it or bind it, but this genie trusts them and is listening for them to call. They don't know exactly what that will do for them. It might not get them each a wish, it might not get the whole party a wish, but genies are powerful. Even a genie on that lower tier. And they're mindful of the fact that they know a genie's name. That's... if I'm falling off a cliff and I got no other options, I might just yell it out. Which might be a good idea. The other thing is that the genie, the higher tier genie, who came down to their size and treated with them, informed them. Your names are known throughout the elemental plane of air. It sounds like a pride thing, like a, oh, well, we're famous now, awesome. No. Their names are known, their deeds are known, their nature is known throughout the realm of the Djinn and the Zephyr. the Sylph. They are friends to the good creatures of the plane of air. And now it's my job as a game master to see that somewhere down the line that pays off. This is not one of those things that pays off in a roll on the random treasure table. And they'd had a few of those earlier in the evening. They were full. This isn't a gems and magic items reward. This isn't a right now reward, even. This is a somewhere down the line when you are boned, when I have thrown stuff that there's absolutely no chance of you getting out of. Because I trust this party with being able to get out of a lot, so, challenge rating is just a number. I throw stuff at them. Remind me to talk about Pickles the Revenant sometime. At some point in time, there's going to be no way out. Because in every great literature, there's a point where there's no way out. But these people have friends. They have acted in the most selfless and heroic manner I have maybe ever seen. They've made me proud to be the game master for these events. Yeah, I'm throwing them a benefit down the line that they can call on, or that they don't have to call on. That the world's going to be about to end and an army of Djinn will show up and say, no, not today, not with these people. Or something. We'll see what happens. Payoff. I like payoff. I like it when people go to a great amount of effort and at the end of it, although they are tired and bruised and bloody, they feel like they got what they earned for the effort. Not even that they tried to earn it. Not that they asked for something. Not that they were doing it for the purpose of reward. But karma flowed the way it needed to. We did something good. And look, something good happened to us in return. Payoff. This is what I mean. I trust that group with anything that I can throw at them as a game master. I'm contributing to a Kickstarter for a campaign online called Salt in the Wounds, which involves a society that has grown by taking advantage of the infinite regenerative ability of the Tarrasque, the most horrible being out there, currently in stasis and being harvested by the society. If you're into doing Kickstarters, you might want to look for it. It's fascinating and messed up in all the best possible ways. And involving the Tarrasque in something is just begging for a total party kill many times over. And I trust this party with that. So you never know. I'm trying to take them to 20th level. I got to give them something big, right? Well, thank you for joining me on this trip into why I love what I do as a hobby and a career. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't particularly enjoy it, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. Leave me a comment. If you had similar experiences or different experiences that you'd like to share, leave me a comment. Tell me a little bit about it. If you'd like to see more videos like this or get routinely alerted when my videos come out, they should be more regular from this point on. I'm doing better. Subscribe. More subscribers means a little bit more reach. More reach means I've got more reason to do more videos. If you really like the video and you'd like to see better quality and stuff, maybe a little cleaning up, who knows, feel free to hit my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider contributing. Every bit helps, and I can always use the resources. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.